This is KC Sports Tonight.
Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to the streaming edition of KC Sports Tonight. Scott Reiss, Marleah Campbell. It is Tuesday. Is it only Tuesday?
That took me a second, yeah.
It seems like it should at least be Wednesday. Of course, if it was Wednesday, we would have the entire Chiefs schedule dropping.
I wish it was Wednesday for that reason.
Yeah, instead we continue to just grasp for straws and hints and nuggets. But we got one for a second straight day, right? I mean, yesterday was opening day against the Ravens at Arrowhead. Now it's week 2 against the Bengals, also at Arrowhead. So not exactly wading into the 2024 waters. I mean, how about those first two matchups?
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, Lamar Jackson and then Joe Burrow. And the Chiefs struggled against the Bengals, was it New Year's Eve? Without Joe Burrow. They won 25-17. Remember, that was
Kicked
the game.
A lot of field goals.
Harrison Butker single-handedly beat them with 18 points of his own. I think they were consecutive. Ended up being AFC Special Teams Player of the Week that week. You know, last season we talked a lot about Steve Spagnuolo's defense being in quote-unquote mid-season form right out of the gate. It's going to be a good measuring stick for this defense and how much they've developed over the course of the offseason without L'Jarius Sneed, without Willie Gay, because they've got a big test week 1 and week 2. So thrown right into the fire, but it certainly could be the Chiefs' advantage to, get tested and get tested early.
Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy. I mean, these are both going to be high-level opponents. And, you know, the Bengals last year you take with a grain of salt because Burrow was out most of the season. But assuming he's back and healthy, no reason to think they won't be one of the better teams in the AFC again. So it's not crazy to think you could stumble out of the gates at 0-2 as the defending champs with 2 home games. Now, I'm not saying I expect that to happen, but it's certainly in the realm of possibility. You got to make sure you take care of business and at least win one of those games because, you know, you have 2 games at home to start the season. That means you're playing a lot of road games once you get to week 3 and beyond.
Yeah, nice thing is you got a mini bye right off the bat. Although I guess you might want that later in the season when you're dealing with a few more bumps and bruises.
Although last year they had multiple Thursdays, so they may have another one.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm interested because these are 2 games that I would circle on the calendar. Like going into tomorrow, say we knew none of the games, I would be asking, when do we play the Bengals? When do we play the Ravens? And we already know both of those 2, and they're very, very early on. So NFL certainly giving us a little bit to chew on before the big reveal tomorrow.
Yeah. We'd also want to know when the Super Bowl rematch is against the 49ers. There is a report that it's going to be week 7, but we take all these with a grain of salt. Last year there were multiple reports a day or 2 before the schedule dropped that turned out to be inaccurate. So pretend I didn't even say that.
Take it with a grain of salt. It's fun to talk about, though.
Well, and the nice thing is we know the opponents, right? So, I mean, the schedule release is fun, but honestly, like the release of who you're playing is a way bigger deal than whether you're going to play the Niners in week 7, week 9, or week 11.
Yeah, I think the NFL does a really good job of giving us these little nuggets throughout the offseason to chew on. We can get to the next one. Our next one, you know, we have tomorrow, we have the schedule release, then we get to talk about OTAs, then we get mini camp, then, of course, training camp at the end of the summer. There's always some kind of benchmark we can cling to until we get to the season. Make some of our book go by a little bit faster.
And what was the other game that dropped today from the NFL was the first Thursday Amazon game, so that'll be week 2, Bills and Dolphins.
Ah, that's a good one.
And so obviously another
very familiar friends
prime time matchup between 2 Chiefs playoff foes from last year. There's so many good teams in the AFC.
Do we know yet if that's in Buffalo or in
You know what? We do. I don't.
I ask because the poor Dolphins are probably still thawing out from their last game of last season, which was in Kansas City. Man, Scott, we were both at that one.
That's in Miami.
Okay, well, there you go. That's nice. They'll get to – I still feel bad for them.
Well,
I don't.
That's nice. It's going to be early September. So, I mean, if you're Buffalo, you'd much rather play the game in right?
Yeah, in Buffalo. Let's get those out of the way at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're the Dolphins, they're going to play twice. They're division foes. You'd rather go to Buffalo in September and be home in December.
Yes.
So I'm not sure this is actually working out for them, but is what it is.
Speaking of Buffalo.
Yes, segue. Speaking of Buffalo. Hang on. I'm still learning to do this on the fly, and clearly I'm bad at it. Let's see. Number 2 is it? Nope, that didn't do it.
No.
Oh goodness. Oh gosh.
Oh, now we're at the K. Now, okay.
I didn't know I could do that.
Where are we? We're not at the K. We're downtown.
I didn't know I could put us downtown.
We should put us on a beach. Put us in Miami.
Okay. Help.
Hey, Gabe.
Now it's nighttime.
Okay, that would be fun. Travel with Marleah and Scott as we put different backgrounds.
This is a whole
behind
new
us.
segment. Yeah. Well,
Again, for our
see.
audio listeners who have no idea what's going on.
Okay, well, there's that. The good news is I figured out how to move us to the next segment. You just
we go.
can't see it. That's the bad news. Yeah, Gabe, any idea how to get us out of the dark?
Come on board, Gabe.
We need to have Gabe. We got to get you your own little microphone. You could be like the brains behind the operation, because clearly that does not exist in these two seats. Technology. Okay, well, for the moment, I'm not going to work. Oh, no, there's that. And
I like that one.
there's, okay, now we're at the K.
A little, we're closer, right?
And now, whoa, that's
that?
definitely not what
Nope.
we want. All right, well, let's
This works.
let's keep us
All
at the K
right.
for the moment. Okay, well, segment 2, which is no longer a segue at all,
verbally tell you.
because we were talking
That
about
was a really good segue.
we were
up until
talking
that
about the
point.
Buffalo Bills, and an old friend will be a member of the Buffalo Bills. Marquez Valdez-Scantling signs a
Yes.
1-year contract with Buffalo. The Bills, along with the Chargers, probably the most wide receiver needy teams in the AFC. So the move makes sense, I suppose. And look, MVS was big in the playoffs.
Yep.
He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl against Philly, scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl against San Francisco, had the huge catch against Baltimore to help salt away the game in the AFC Championship. But he was shockingly unproductive over the course of the regular season last year.
Yeah, very, very much so, to say the least. And so let's see. He had 21 receptions.
I
in
mean,
the regular
21
season.
receptions on the field almost every snap all year.
Yes, let's remember that.
That's
One,
hard
he
to do.
Didn't deal with any lengthy injuries.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No.
And he was the highest paid guy in that room, and it wasn't really close. I mean, he really dominated the cap space in the wide receiver room, which is a good thing in that you bring a veteran in who can kind of lead this young wide receiver room. Bad thing in that he had 21 catches on the regular season. To his credit, he really stepped up in the postseason. The Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl without some key. Hey! Yay! Okay, again, audio listeners, the background is
I'm just going to keep clicking buttons, and eventually something's going to work.
Anyway, MVS, yes. Regular season, not good. Postseason, very good. Ended up scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowls. Made some really critical plays down the stretch in all of those games, from Kansas City to Buffalo to Baltimore to Vegas. But again, regular season, unproductive, to say the least.
I mean, he's by reputation, he's a deep threat.
Yeah.
And the Bills lost Stephon Diggs. They lost Gabe Davis. But if this is your replacement, I mean, you know, this guy's not in the same stratosphere as Stephon Diggs, and I don't think he's anywhere close to Gabe Davis either. So I still think, you know, if this is a Bills team that has a lot of questions heading into this season.
Yeah, glimmer of optimism. If I'm Buffalo and I just watched the postseason tape, I'm thinking, okay,
okay.
this is not that bad. But yeah, I mean, MVS, you know, kind of happy trails, best wishes, hope he does well in Buffalo. But again, body of work in Kansas City. I don't think any of us, when we heard his departure, were super heartbroken. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed, when I heard he was leaving, I had kind of the pang of like, oh man, that's gonna like really hurt.
No, that's gonna leave a mark.
Consistently, that is gonna leave a mark that you need to fill ASAP. I didn't necessarily feel that with MVS. Again, as Chiefs Kingdom, you thank him for what he did in the playoffs, but it's gonna be interesting having him. Well, I guess we'll see if he's back at Arrowhead, but either way, playing the Chiefs.
We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow night. Great segue to tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Jared and Neil will replace us in these seats, and they will be doing a full schedule breakdown. So you can get the schedule anywhere, but really in-depth analysis. I mean, Jared has been working studiously,
poring over
to break down
each opponent,
every single matchup. So they're going to break down all of that, so you can kind of get a holistic look at the season outside of just here are the games and when they're going to be played. So tune into that 8 o'clock. Right here on the stream that you're watching right now.
And Jared's probably much better than I am at working the buttons, so you'll probably see what you're supposed to see during that streaming special, which is an added incentive to check it out. Yeah. Baby steps. All right, so moving on. Hey, look at that. That worked. Okay. I did it again.
Oh, no. Well.
Actually, I could put us at the K now.
Yeah, this is actually a little bit more fitting.
Let's see. No, not tonight. No. Okay, whatever. I was gonna change the stats, and I did the wrong thing again. We're gonna have to get Gabe on this when we're done. All right. Royals last night, rough night
Yeah.
Bats went silent in Seattle. And we talked about this on this show yesterday. This is a dangerous series. The pitching up there is no joke. And George Kirby last night looked like the supposed Cy Young candidate he was heading into the season. The guy's stuff is filthy. He has the best. I will preface this by saying somewhat of a small sample size historically speaking, but whatever the threshold is for all-time strikeout to walk ratio, he's number one in baseball history. Right? He's been in the league. He's been in the league 3 years, so again, you're not talking about 20 years worth of data, but that tells you, what this guy is in terms of the command. And the Royals were on the receiving end of that last night. Kirby was fantastic. They couldn't do anything with him. Michael Massey had the 2-run double late in the game. But, now you're down 0-1. You got 2 games left, and you got to face another really tough cookie in Logan Gilbert tonight. So, this is life on the road against good teams. You're not going to win every night. But I think the thing for the Royals is I'd have to go back and look at the schedule, but I think that the last 4 times they have lost a game, maybe not the one against the Angels was the outlier, but before that, you go back the last 3 weeks or so, every time they lost a game following a few wins, then they lost another, then they lost another. So every loss turned into 3 losses.
Yeah.
Now they've offset that with 3 and 4 game win streaks, and it's all worked out okay, but the consistency I think is going to be important going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think there's like these milestones teams need to cross when they're rebuilding from what we saw last season, and the Royals definitely skipped a few of those, kind of,
Nope. You just keep talking.
I'll keep going. They skipped a few in
There
terms of beautiful. They turned things around a lot quicker than I think a lot of us expected to, and a big part of that was the off-season signings. I mean, as we've mentioned, it felt like we were getting a release every other second. It culminated kind of in this fireworks show of the Bobby Witt Jr. deal. But so they've crossed the milestone of, okay, this team is capable of winning.
Yeah.
Check one. They're capable of coming back from deficits. We've seen that a lot. They're good at home. Kind of the hurdle that they haven't cleared yet, in my mind, to turn the corner from a team that is, clearing a pretty low bar that was last season to get some excitement around the area is, can you win on the road too? That's kind of the difference between playoff teams and teams that are just, kind of middle of the road and not historically bad, right?
Yes.
So I think that's kind of the next step for this team is, can you prove yourself on the road? And as you said, can you keep one loss and not let it turn to 2, 3, 4, 5?
I look at baseball as the most predictable of the sports. Statistically speaking, you look at a guy's, the back of a guy's baseball card is kind of what he is how the saying goes.
Large sample size, yeah.
Exactly. Large sample size, a lot of games. And as you get deeper into a career, I always say if a guy is a career 280 hitter and on May 5th, he's hitting 160, well, you know what? He's going to hit 300 the rest of the way because he's going to finish in the mid-2s. It's all going to average out. And, the flip side is if a guy's a career 280 hitter and he's hitting 400 on May 5th, well, he's probably going to hit 250 the rest of the way so that it all comes down. The point is, regression is real, either positive or negative. And I look at this Royals pitching staff, and I think that a week or 2 ago, you looked at this and said, this is unsustainable. The regression is coming. All of a sudden, Brady Singer got lit up a bit last night, and the ERA now is closer to 3 than 2. And, can Brady Singer be an ERA of 3 guy all year? I don't think so, but can he be under 3.5? Yeah, I think he can. So now we're kind of getting into where, okay, maybe he's settling into what he is. Cole Reagans, 2 of the last 3 starts, he's given up 7 earned runs. That's not Cole Reagans, right? He's clearly better than that.
Yeah.
So his numbers will get better, right? Seth Lugo is the opposite. Seth Lugo has a 1.6 ERA. He's leading the American League. His numbers will get worse. There's no way to go but down when your ERA is 1.6. But my point is, I think the staff as a whole is getting to a point where you can kind of see how this is going to play out in the near and even distant future, and you can make a case that what they have done is at least somewhat sustainable, because I don't look at the numbers up and down and say, that guy can't keep doing it, that guy can't keep doing it,
Yeah.
that guy. Now there's only a couple left. Michael Wacha pitches tonight, perfect example. And in fact, I've got his numbers here on the screen. He's his ERA is over 5. He's better than that.
Yeah.
Like, what's Michael Wacha going to finish the year? Probably 3.8, 4.0, somewhere in that line. That's what he's done his entire career, which means between now and then, he could be 3.5, 3.6, and that's good. So I think you're looking at more positive regression from some of these pitchers than negative regression, which we couldn't say couple of weeks ago. It's kind of a geeky way of summing it up, but my point is I'm bullish on the Royals being able to sustain what they've done the last couple of weeks, probably more so than when it was 10 games into the season and the numbers were just stupid good.
Right, yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think you like the trends where they are right now. I mean, if that theory is true, you like where this club is going.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you can make the same arguments offensively. Say, okay, who's going to be better than this the rest of the year? Who's going to be worse, right? Salvi's not going to hit 350, right? He's going to be worse than this the rest of the year. I still expect him to be good. Should be an all-star. Bobby Witt hitting 300, sustainable.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt should hit 300 this year, so I think he will do what he's doing the rest of the year. So I think that's the nice thing about baseball. There's always outliers. Obviously, not everything is linear, but you can sort of look at a team and decide whether they're for real once you get to this quarter point in the season. And I think we're getting a better idea now about the Royals,
right.
I think, in what we've seen. So anyway, tonight, Royals-Mariners, 8:40. The numbers are there. Logan Gilbert, really good. And he is that good. Like 2.94, that's legit for him. He could be an ERA of 3 guy all year. So the Royals are going to have to find a way to scratch out a couple of runs. And Waka will have to pitch like he did last time out when he was fantastic. And if those two things happen and you even up the series, then you got getaway day tomorrow. It's day baseball. And I'm telling you, this is another one where if the Royals can somehow win the next 2 games and come away with another road series win against a good team, it's arrow up again, right?
And then you got a lot of momentum and excitement in Kansas City when
Yes.
they come back, because you got the 2014 celebration
Totally.
this weekend. There's going to be a big crowd on hand for that, especially Friday with the pregame ceremony. So, if you can get through this series, this is kind of the sticky one where you're on the road. You've been on the road for a long time.
Totally,
You're playing
totally.
a good pitching staff.
That's a good word. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a sticky and sneaky important series for them. But yeah, and this weekend's going to be fun, right?
Oh,
I
it's
know
gonna
you'll
be
be
a lot
out there on Friday. It's going to
Yep.
be a blast. Gonna go. So let's see. 2014, you were.
I was a young Shawnee Mission West today. Actually, I'm so glad you said that. 10 years ago today, my dad sent me a picture. I was at graduation. I graduated high school 10 years ago.
And look at you now.
Yeah. Why did we start talking about 2014? Okay, I was
2014,
like,
yes.
hang on.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
there's your fun fact for the day.
All right. Not so fun fact.
There we go. I was like, how are we going to we've had so many good segues. How are we going to do this?
Yeah, this one less good. Should I even try and move the box? Because every time I try and move the box, bad things happen. Yeah.
Are you going to do it?
I don't know. Should I try it?
Try it.
You just want to see. Oh no, I got it. We're good.
Hey, okay. Fourth time's the
Yeah,
charm.
you wanted me to put us back in,
I wanted to go back
downtown
to back
somewhere.
to yeah.
Okay.
Kaufman.
So Sporting KC, again, we covered this yesterday. You don't want to beat a dead horse. They haven't won an MLS game since March. You were out there today, and I know that you are enamored with the Peter Vermees news
press
conference
conferences are so
demeanor.
Yeah.
That he says it like it is.
Yeah.
He's unintentionally but quite very funny.
Yes.
In a lot of his responses.
Yeah.
So what kind of pearls did he have for us today?
Yeah. Saturday nights, if you missed our show yesterday, we kind of recapped it, but real quick, he was not happy, obviously.
And yet still very funny.
It's still funny. I mean, he's just so quick. The comments are amazing. If you haven't listened to the Saturday press conference, I would recommend it. But so obviously you're not happy. That's not surprising that you haven't won since March, and you're kind of upset at a post-game press conference. But it was the reason why he wasn't happy that was a bit concerning, and that was a lack of effort. We've talked about you can get into losing slumps, you can get into hitting slumps, you can get into shooting slumps. There's all sorts of reasons to go through rough patches. But when that's not controlled, when that's an effort issue, that's where you start to raise the red flag of, wait a minute, what are we doing here? That should never be questionable. I mean, you can miss a bunch of threes in a row and you're trying hard to make it, but that's just kind of how it happens. And, as you were talking about 2 minutes ago about the law of averages, you know that those things are going to even out over time. Sporting's issue right now, and that's what they hammered on again at training this morning. We talked to Tim Melia and we talked to Peter Vermees, and they both said, look, effort is something we can control. This is entirely a mindset thing. We need to turn things around. Each guy needs to focus on sprinting to their spot, playing 100% every single possession, every single play. I struggle with that because I don't necessarily think that should be an issue at that level, but
it shouldn't.
It's their cards they're dealt with right now. And the good news is that you have the talent. I mean, here's a silver lining. It's a very much half glass half full way of looking at it, but this team has the talent to play very good soccer. I mean, this is the playoff team with a few maybe switched pieces, but for the most part, this is a team that we know is playoff capable. That's where the frustration lies when you have a really talented team, but you're having some effort issues, and you've lost where you haven't won in 6 games, 7 games. They're on a 6-game winless streak.
And, he was pretty clear on Saturday that he has identified the guilty parties.
And he echoed that this morning and said he's willing to make changes to the starting rotation based on output.
And we will know based on those lineup
visible.
Changes.
And we asked, when is that going to happen? And he said it's every time we work out, every training, every game. They're playing in Austin on Saturday is an evaluation period. So expect to see those changes made relatively quickly if those changes do happen. Or maybe the pieces he's pointing to take the message and turn it around. And we're not talking about this in a week. But right now, that's the major storyline coming out of Children's Mercy Park.
All right, and quickly, not on the board there, but you also were at KC Mavericks.
I was.
Today.
I was at.
Props to the Mavs.
Did the Gambit today. Yep, I was at the Mavericks today. They were doing practice. They were doing kind of like they just got back from Idaho. So in case you missed it over the weekend, we had a game series clinching overtime goal, which was really exciting by a rookie, which you'll hear from on the 6 o'clock news. So they advanced to the conference finals. They will play the Toledo Walleye, which is singular. It's not walleyes, which, there you go, if you didn't know that.
And I know half of you were asking, what's a walleye?
It's a fish. I don't know if people are asking. I'm very curious. I was surprised you didn't know what a walleye was. Although, maybe it's a Kansas fish. I don't know. Anyway, I'm surprised we don't have fish.
There are Kansas
breeds
fish
on the right part of our screen here. But anyway, so this will be a 3-game series.
Give me a minute. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. No, please don't. This will be a 7-game series. The first 3 are in Toledo. The last 4 will be back here in Kansas City at Cable Dahmer. They win. They advance to the Kelly Cup Finals, which is really exciting. This team hasn't won a championship before. I was talking to them today about, do you feel the championship kind of vibe in Kansas City? And they were like, yeah, we see what the Chiefs are doing. We want to bring some of that excitement to Kansas City. We're watching, the Andy Reid system is kind of your goal as a franchise. That's what we'd like to build here. So they have a chance to get that underway this week and, get one step closer to bringing a championship back to Kansas City.
Hey, the bar is high, but we seem to clear it. You got a football champion. We could have a hockey champion. We could have a soccer champion. Casey Curran undefeated.
Yeah,
so,
and folks unfamiliar, the Mavericks are the affiliate of the Seattle Kraken. So,
Which, by the way, is one of the coolest names for any pro
coolest
franchise.
Mascot. Yeah.
The Kraken.
Yeah.
I love that.
There you go.
Yes. I know what a Kraken is.
Yeah, but not a walleye.
But not a walleye.
Okay.
All right. Well, now I know. Hey, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back same time tomorrow. And by we, I mean me and someone else. It's me and Jared, I think. So,
okay.
Yeah, Marleah will be replaced. Not that you can be replaced, but it'll be Jared Kohler sitting there, back from his long vacation. And he should have a lot of knowledge to espouse built up over the last however many days it's been. And again, he'll be all over the schedule release, going in depth on all the opponents and stuff. So a lot of Chiefs talk tomorrow. Royals Day baseball as well. So it should be fun. We'll see you, as they say, same bat time, same bat channel. All right. And I'll see you on the 6 o'clock news. Oops.